Bookcase and Coffee presents Buzzing About Romance, a quick shot of romance.
Welcome, everybody, to Buzzing About Romance, a quick shot of romance. And on this episode, I am joined by podcast contributor Carolina, and we are reviewing Blindsided by Amy Daws. Welcome back to the podcast, Carolina.
Thank you.
Look at that arm porn.
Lovely book.
I do like some good arm porn. Would you like to read the synopsis from Goodreads?
Yes. What happens when an almost 30-year-old virgin agrees to let her Scottish footballer best friend give her some lessons in seduction? Lots of banter, awkwardness, jealousy, and heat. Midfielder Maclay, Logan, is a loudmouth, tattooed ginger, content with focusing on football. But when an adorable freckled seamstress comes barreling into his life, he finds Netflix-And-Bickering with her is his new favorite pastime. Freya Cook is used to being the invisible woman with a needle and thread, offering cheeky punchlines as she helps dress London's finest. She's plus-sized in body and spirit, and other than her friendship with Mac, talking to the opposite sex is one skill she has never mastered. However, after one innocent game of Never Have I Ever, Mac offers to play love coach for Freya. What neither of them see coming are feelings that develop when the clothes come off. Now they're both about to learn the biggest lesson of all: don't fall in love with your best friend.
Okay, so the release date on this is November 21st, 2019. So it's actually a couple years old. The tropes are friends to lovers, friends with benefits, virgin heroine, regal-bodied heroine, sports, and rom-com. And the put-out percentage, for those of you who like to know that, is 40%. So it's kind of slow, like slow to us, but not slow.
It goes with the story.
It does. It actually fits really well with the story, and it makes sense, like that it happens when it does in the way that it does. So let's talk Freya. So Freya is extremely naive, and I was actually a little surprised at how sheltered she is, because she lives in the city. She works with women. Granted, she has only been in London for a couple of years. She used to live in Manchester. So I don't know a lot about London or England, so I can't say like Manchester is a big city, but like you hear about it. So I'm assuming it is a city where there's a decent amount of people. But I was really kind of surprised at like how naive and sheltered she seems.
Yeah, she is very naive. I think some of that comes from the experiences she had that were a little tragic when it comes to guys.
Yes.
That I think just kind of swung her in the other direction and put her in this frame of like, okay, I'm just going to be the best friend. Like, I'm going to be that plus size buddy to all the girls. And she's just kind of resigned herself to be that person.
Yeah, she talks about like some of her dating past and the things that have happened, and you just like want to hug her and then smack them, because like I just can't believe some of it, which I guess when you think about it that way, like it makes sense, because like if you have one bad experience, like it's just one bad experience, but she had multiple, so it kind of like she kind of shut herself off from all of that.
And the time that she and her boyfriend at the time tried to go all the way, it was very awkward. And yeah, I think that would be a little traumatizing.
Just a little bit.
A little bit.
I feel like she really showed a lot of growth in substance like throughout the book, because at the beginning she's this naive like cat owning, which I loved her cat Hercules. I thought like he was just adorable, but like she has her cat, she like has her like group of friends that she loves, but by the end of the book, like she's really come into like her personality. Not that it was ever an issue before that, but like she really owns like her status as a seamstress and her status as like a capable woman.
She, I think, had the biggest growth throughout the book and really came into her own. And her friend Allie really helped her see that. And even Mac helped her see that throughout the book. But I think at the end, I was really proud of her character for standing up to Mac and standing up for herself and what she wants in her life. Like there's a couple moments at the end, you're just rooting for her. Like, that's right. Like, you go, you tell him, you set what you want in your life and you don't settle. And you make Mac step up to that level.
Well, and I like the fact that like he thought that like if he did a certain thing, which he doesn't, like she would just fold and be like, just come back. And she doesn't. Like, she sticks to her guns. Like, yes, she says something that was a little harsh in that moment, but when you find out later why she did it, like, it makes sense, because I mean, he breaks her in a way that like you didn't know if she was going to come back from that. I mean, it's a romance book, so naturally she's going to, but like you didn't know how long it was going to take. Because like the first time I read it, I was like, how long are they going to be apart? Like, is this going to be a months thing? Because like he breaks her in a way like I didn't know like what kind of gesture he was going to have to do to make it better.
You knew it was going to have to be a big gesture and pull out all the stops, because like the first time I read it multiple times, and the first time I read it, I was heartbroken for her. So
yeah, because he's an ass. He's just an ass. And so let's talk Mac a little bit, and then we can go back to her. So Mac is this guy who is on the soccer team with all of the Harris brothers, and he is best friends and roommates with Roan, who is one of their teammates also. And he's kind of an ass, like, honestly, like he's a gruff guy. Like he doesn't really have a filter. He says what he wants. He does what he wants. But I wasn't sure the first time I read it, like where she was going with him. Like, is he always going to be like this gruff, like unfeeling, like person, or how is she going to bring him around to somebody that I actually really like overall?
There was a lot of elements where some of that feels like he's very jaded, I think, from his football career, as well as his just kind of perspective on life. Like, once you learn kind of where kind of some of the history with his grandfather and his perspective of women and his sole focus on football. But there were also moments that you really start to see some redeeming qualities about his character that make you just kind of swoon a little bit, and how thoughtful he could be. Because like when they do her pretend first date, he's like, he brings her gifts. And then when they have another date before, her first time, he takes her to go deliver kittens that have been adopted.
That part was so stinking adorable.
And you saw the very thoughtful side of Mac, that you're like, okay, he's a guy, but he's paying attention because she means something to him.
Well, and one thing I liked about that section of the book, like, she does not shy away from showing his emotions, because he even makes a comment like when after like they have dropped off the last kitten, like he is crying because it's just so emotional. And that's something that I enjoyed. Like, there's this big gruff, like grumpy guy who like cries like throughout the book multiple times, just because he's an emotionally like in touch person, but he doesn't, like, he hides that at the same time, which I think is where some of the gruffness and assholeness comes from. Because like he has these emotions, but he's so afraid to like let them out and show everybody.
Well, and especially towards the end with everything that happens with his grandfather. And I'm going to leave that vague.
Yes.
But you also get to see a much deeper side of him.
Well, and I think part of his hangups is like his grandfather has always talked about like football and how good he is and how he wants to like see him succeed at that. But Mac kind of only took the surface of the things his grandfather said. Like he didn't really look any deeper into it. And there were some really thoughtful moments that happened like towards the end of the book when everything was kind of coming to a head, like with his grandfather, and they had a lot of deep, meaningful conversations. And I thought that part was really important because it gave him a better understanding of like who his grandfather truly was, not just this like larger than life persona that he almost has. So it gave him a completely different perspective on the way his grandfather's thought process was.
Yeah, his grandfather really gave him a very soul deep, like a smack upside the head, that just, I think, shook him, which he needed at that point in the book, like really hard.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like Mac also, like, he's a little self-centered and it's all about him because there's a moment when he has moved from his team in London back to Scotland, and he has asked for a trade, but he doesn't like the people who are part of this trade, like his coach, his agent, the lawyer, like important people. I use that term loosely. Like they all know about it, but like Roan has went on his honeymoon, is gone for 2 weeks, comes back, and Mac did not say a word. Like he has moved out of London, is like training with a totally different club, and did not tell his best friend that he left and like moved out of their like flat.
Well, I think that whole part of the book is him, because he didn't tell Freya until it happened. Like like that all part of it was very selfish of and that's part of his character's journey. He needed to do that to almost lose everything, like to then kind of have the realization of like how much really he's lost, what's really important.
Yeah, I just wanted to smack him multiple times about that. So Freya has some little quirks that I want to talk about. So like
one that I thought you would appreciate 100%.
Oh yeah, which one was that?
That she drinks everything out of a mug.
I do like that. We're like kindred spirits. We like to mug drink because if it doesn't have a handle, you could drop it. The handle makes it easier.
Yes.
I do like that. But I was actually talking about her ears burning when she gets nervous, and she always asks him to like rub her ears. She's like, rub my ears.
She was definitely quirky, and I loved that about her because she had a very distinct like persona and personality.
She does, but Daws, like when she has written this book, like she keeps Freya like true to that quirky, distinctive personality. Like she is kind of brash, which you would not think like a naive person that she was at the beginning of the book would be that way, but she's kind of brash. She's kind of outspoken. Like she doesn't really have a filter around certain people, but but she stays true to herself. Like, yes, she has growth, and yes, like she changes for the better, and she makes changes like to that she is comfortable with, but she like the core of her stays the same.
I would 100% agree. And she has a cat named Hercules.
She does.
That he's such a grumpy cat.
He is, and he hides because there's at one point like Mac talks about like he's orange, and he's like, I forgot he was orange because he's never out. And she's like, he just doesn't like people.
And she dresses him up, and he just like lays there. He hates it.
It's funny because I have cats, and we used to do that to our one cat, and we would put stuff on him, and he would just fall over and just stay there and get like this mean face. But it was so funny. So we would just take pictures and videos of it because you just need to do that. Like you have to document the fact that your cat has fallen over because it has a scarf on it.
I'm like, I want that Instagram account because I want to follow Hercules.
Yes. She's Amy Daws, if you're
I
listening,
know.
please
We
make
need
a
that.
Hercules the
And-
cat
And I need
Instagram.
Hercules the cat in the kilt.
Yes. Oh my gosh, the kilt
Please.
scene when she
I need-
stabs his.
Yes.
Yeah, I laughed. I forgot about that. And I laughed really, really hard when I was rereading it. So they go into this love coaching situation, and then he's gonna free her from her virginity. He doesn't word it that way, but going into it, like the two of them have feelings for each other, like going into it, but they're both so like blinded and like oblivious to what's happening around them that they're like, you just know it's not going to go well.
Everybody sees it, and because they a few of them even comment, you guys bicker like an old married couple, and they do. They have that banter back and forth that is solid through the whole book. Even when they hate each other, they're still bickering, like we're in a fight, we're in a major fight.
Well, that's the funny
and
thing,
we
like
might
they
get
kept
into
asking,
a second
like,
fight.
are we in a fight right now? Like that was the thing, like, are we in a fight? But they do, like they have really good banter, and it's just funny. But so you get little snippets into Mac's sister's book with Santino, the lawyer. So I haven't read that one yet, but
yeah, that one's a good one. It's a heavy read.
Okay.
There is some lightness to it. This Blindsided is much more rom-com category. And I'm blanking on the name of the sister's book. Replay, thank you. It's a much deeper journey because both Tilly and Santino have history together. She's gone through a lot of stuff, and you learn a lot about Santino's background.
Interesting.
Very carefully worded choice of words there.
I was gonna say, you gotta no spoilers.
No spoilers.
But so with this too, like you have lots of connections to the original Harris series because like they play on the same team, and there's such a big factor throughout like this entire, like these spin-off books also, but it's not overwhelming with other people. So like if you have not read the original Harris brothers, you will not be lost because they come in and out, but they're the side friend characters. Like they are not like a defining factor in this story.
I feel like this is the one spinoff in the series that truly can be read as a standalone. It's almost like Santino and Tilly's book. You almost need to read Blindsided before you read that one. Like every book almost has a little bit of a prerequisite, intro, if you will, that just makes the story fuller. But Blindsided, I think, is the one spinoff that you can read as a standalone.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so do you like this book?
Yes. I've read this book, and I've listened to the audio of this book a couple times, and I highly recommend you listen to the audiobook if you have the choice, because it is in true Amy Daws fashion. She has them recorded in duet. So Mac's lines are all said by the male narrator, even in Freya's chapters.
Nice.
And vice versa. So and then you've got the Cornish accent and the Scottish accent. So it is like a treat for your ears.
If I did audio, I would be on top of that. Yeah, I like this book too. It was a reread for me, and I did not love it as much as I did the first time around because there were some nuances to Mac's character that I didn't like him this time around as much, but it is still a very good story, and I would definitely reread it again. So don't take that as a bad thing. So who would typically like this book?
If you love rom-coms, I think this fits it 100%. Friends to lovers element to it, and lots of feisty banter, like a little bickering banter.
Lots of bickering banter. Yeah, people who likes a sports romance that's not overwhelmingly sports focused, because the sports is like, it's a side element. It is not a huge focus of it. And one thing I did want to say, we did not cover this yet, but Freya is a real bodied heroine. So she is like, she's a normal, like larger woman, but I felt that the treatment that she got, like, yes, like she had a lot of insecurities about her size. And she did make some changes in like towards the end of the book because she wanted to be healthy and she wanted to make things like she made all of the decisions to change things. Like it wasn't a factor of like, I'm a better person because I lost this weight. It was just something that she chose to do. And I thought that was treated pretty well.
I would agree.
Okay. Would you recommend this book?
Yes. I have recommended this book before. I enjoy it. It's one of my favorites in the series.
I do too. I've recommended it. I enjoy Amy Dawes' writing. She writes a really good rom-com that you can kind of get lost in. Like it's one of those books you can just snort, laugh, and it's okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so do you have a book you think we should do a quick shot of romance for? If you do, send us an email at thebees@bookcaseandcoffee.com. And thank you so much, Carolina, for coming back and talking Blindsided with me.
Thanks for having me. I love this book. It's easy to talk about.
Okay, until next time, happy reading, everybody.
Find us on Instagram at buzzingaboutromance or on Twitter at buzzingromance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.